More people are coming in, but that's okay. Okay, so hello everybody. Thanks for joining. We're excited to have you tuned in. It's our last event of the year here on Discord, so super excited. Welcome to our workshop series. We've been trying to run this every Thursday for a while now, so excited to have you back. So I'm your host, Bobby Lee, a technical program manager here on the team to help manage a lot of our developer community programming and events. And today we're going to go over how to build a payments app with CDP Commerce using On-Chain Kit and the Commerce API. So CDP has created a platform that enables developers to help any business transition on-chain. We aim for our tools to continuously improve in efficiency and effectiveness, enabling us to contribute more meaningfully to the success of those building with our products. Okay, so to kick things off, a couple questions I put in the chat, so you can see those there. But first question is, how many of you are familiar with On-Chain Kit or Commerce? That's the question we have. And then any feedback on either product before we get started. So take your time putting those in the chat, and I'll get started. I'll keep moderating in a minute after you have some time to answer that. Okay, we're going to keep moving. So with that being said, let me introduce our presenters that we have today. We have Esteban, who is a technical services engineer here on CDP, and he answers a lot of questions in Discord, so you may already recognize him. And then we have Os, who is a commerce program specialist for the commerce team. So the topics Esteban and Os will go over today are on-chain kit integration, connecting it with commerce, and then hosting it on Vercel. So with that being said, I have just a couple housekeeping notes, and then I'll pass it over to Esteban and Os. But overall, so we have a Q&A session towards the end of our presentation. So if you've been to our events before, feel free to ask questions in the chat throughout the workshop. And no need to raise your hand, because we won't be answering people's hands. We'll just have them put their question in the chat, and we'll try to get to them in the end of the session during the Q&A. So we're monitoring that throughout. So we just ask that you're respectful to everyone, all the presenters, and to keep your questions relevant to the topic at hand. And then if you have to jump out, no worries. We will be recording this workshop, and we'll have it for viewing later on our YouTube channel. Okay, so without further ado, let's get started. I'm going to hand it over to Esteban and Os, so take it away.
Thank you, Bobby Lee. Great to be here with everyone. Like Bobby Lee said, my name's Esteban. I've been at Coinbase for almost a year. Prior to that, I was at OpenSea and Polygon doing some cool on-chain stuff. But happy to be at Coinbase, and I think this is such a fantastic developer community. So I'm super happy to be doing these events. And I'm here with Os. He's our commerce specialist. Os, do you want to do a quick intro?
Yeah, thanks. Hey, so I've been at Coinbase for about 3 years now. Been in the crypto space since like 2016, 2017. And overall, just a really exciting time to be building right now. There's so many cool products coming out, on-ramps, off-ramps, different SDKs and APIs. So yeah, it's just really exciting to be here.
Awesome. All right. So with that said, let's go ahead and get started, right? So the topic today is building a payment app with CDP Commerce and On-Chain Kit. Like Bobby Lee said, feel free to ask any questions on the chat. I'm on 2 monitors today, right? So I'm able to present on one, and I got Discord open here. So happy to get to your questions if I can. If not, we'll for sure get to them. But feel free to jump into the chat and ask any questions you have during the presentation, right? So, all right, let's go ahead and jump in. Cool. So today's goals, we've already done an introduction. We're going to understand the stack, right? What tech stack does it take to build something like this? Then we'll do a quick run through of how Os and I set up our projects. And then we'll do a live demo of what we've built and what's more or less possible with On-Chain Kit and Commerce and combining those two. We'll highlight some of the key features there and talk about how we deployed it, right? For example, Os deployed his on Replit. I deployed mine on Vercel. It's super easy to do either one. And we'll go ahead and jump in and chat about that. And then we'll have a quick Q&A for maybe if we have time, we can bring some of you up to the stage and chat, or we'll just keep answering questions on the chat. Perfect. So this is part 2 of a series we started. I did the first one, the commerce one. I think we did it a couple of weeks ago. But essentially that first session was talking about just the commerce API, right? Just how we can leverage that API and build something simple, right? So just to refresh your memory, I built this using Python with our commerce API. Essentially what this is a very simple, like bare bones, like e-commerce store, where as an admin, you're able to add products or remove them, and then it will show up here on the shop. I built this using Streamlit, which is a library on Python that I'm just familiar with. I think it's super cool. It's usually used for data analytics, but I used it here to show a quick example, right? So let's say I want to buy this. I have these in my cart, and I want to proceed to the checkout and pay here with crypto, right? Super simple. All I did was plug in my API key, and I'm already able to charge folks, right? And this was all done literally in one file for Python. So just to kind of show you how simple it is to set that up for Commerce API. So today we're going to talk about doing something similar, but integrating it with Onchain Kit, which is our like React and like TypeScript library. I like to call it like a plug and play tool. I think it's really, really awesome and really simple to get you started, right? So the whole goal here is to show you guys how simple it is to set up these like complex, quote unquote, like crypto payment platforms, and how we're simplifying that here at CDP and Coinbase. And it's super user friendly, super intuitive, and a lot of the things come out of the box and ready to go. So yeah, right here on the right, it's a quick sample app that I built during our CDP hackathon, which is what I'll jump into later as well. Cool. So let's talk about the stack, right? So we need to use two things. We need to use a Coinbase Commerce API key, and then we need an Onchain Kit API key, right? These are the two components that we're basically going to use. So think of Onchain Kit as just like the front end component. Think of that just like that's doing all our front end stuff and any back end stuff that we want to add. We can honestly integrate it with whatever CDP product we want to, but in this case, our backend was built on Commerce. So Commerce, here we're doing it specifically with USDC payments. We're using it to secure these API endpoints to route the payments, handle the charge, and create those API calls and those post calls for Commerce, right? And then for Onchain Kit, you guys are really going to like this because this is really, truly plug and play. I could go into like how you get started with building, and it just takes minutes, especially nowadays with using Cursor or any like LLM. We have tools ready to go and our docs that are ready to help you there. All you have to do is copy and paste them into those LLM tools, right? And the tech stack here, I think somebody mentioned it on the chat, using Next.js. That's exactly what we built here. And we use TypeScript, Tailwind, some Waggy stuff, and Base as well, right? We built everything on there. On the right here, you see the Onchain Kit docs, which I'm happy to jump into later on if we have time. Perfect. All right. So for this specific project that I built, it's called the Creator Tip app, right? So this was we had an internal CDP hackathon, and we were encouraged to use like any CDP SDK product or Onchain Kit. So I decided to make, if you guys have heard of Buy Me a Coffee, which is like the Web2 equivalent, like it's for creators to go in and like, I actually saw a practical example of this the other day. Like on Reddit, there's like this Photoshop page that people are like, hey, can you give me hair or like remove this person, right? I saw a couple of funny ones. And a lot of people then like do the Photoshop edit, and then they have their link, like buy me a coffee here, like for helping you out, maybe as a quick tip. So I didn't see that, like I haven't seen a crypto version of that. I've seen some of them, some iterations, but nothing that's like it's like a template that you could build for creators. So that's exactly what I tried doing, right, in my application. And also we'll talk about his cool application in a bit. But essentially that's what I did. It's already live. Here's like a quick screenshot of the GitHub link. And I could also share that with you. Let me know in the chat if you guys want me to share that with you after I share out my application and kind of what it took to build that, right? So you need those three things, which are a lot of that is set up for you when you create the Onchain Kit app, right? So those environment configurations, those are important to remember because like I shipped it on Vercel, and it's going to ask you if you've never built anything on Vercel, like it does a lot of it for you. It basically grabs your GitHub repo and deploys it, right? But then you have to set up the environment variables in Vercel as well. So make sure to do that appropriately. And then you have to change these up, right? Because a lot of these come, like you see Next Public, that's like a Next.js thing, but you don't want these to be public for like end users. You want this just on the backend, so I would recommend removing that. All right, and then the core components here, we're routing our API to handle those charges, right? And we have an error like handling set up for any error messages if any folks are running into any issues. So the console will tell you anything or any pop-up error messages. And a lot of that, again, is set up on Onchain Kit, and I'll show you guys how. And this is my project structure. Again, the repo is public. I didn't want to go through the repo step by step. Happy to do a deep dive on that if you guys want to. Let me know in the chat. But essentially, this is how we set it up, especially our backend. We have an API route to config the create charge, and then we have our tip creator component that builds out the UI there. Perfect. All right. Let's go ahead and do a live demo, right? So I have this open here. Let me show you guys the Vercel link, right? So here, is where I hosted it. It was free actually to host it, not associated with like Coinbase or anything, but like just free. You could create an account and go ahead and host your application there. And it's connected to the repo, and you could like have custom domains for it or anything like that. So let's go ahead and go into my app. Cool. So like I said, my app is supposed to be this template to support creators. You could buy them a pizza, coffee, or like a custom tip, right? With anything you want. It already connects your wallet here. You could disconnect the wallet, like your specific wallet, or like connect another wallet. Right now I have my smart wallet connected to it. And then I could send funds to anybody, right? In the sense of like in the either Base or Ethereum. So I set it up that not only we could send it by wallet address, but you could also add a Base name in there, which comes there's a component for that. The tricky part here is having an ENS name as well, right? We didn't have anything that was already custom, like easily plug and play for that. So I set that up here as well, and I have the logic right now for that. So if I type in Vitalik.eth, it'll show me his ENS name, right? That's him right there. I could send him a coffee. It'd be kind of weird if I do, but I could send him a coffee. I could also type in my own base name, right? Or anybody else's base name. And then it'll find it there as well, right? Let me see. I have to refresh it. There we go. It'll go ahead and find it there. Or I could just simply plug in like a wallet address as well. So super cool to do that. And then let's go back to the Vitalik example. So once we have this, we could go ahead. Typically, I like sending like penny just to kind of test it out. And it'll prompt you here to go ahead and sign that transaction, right? I'm not going to fully send it to him. It'll be kind of weird if I do. Maybe I should. I don't know. Let me know in the chat if I should send it to him. But I can send that to him, and then I'll get a confirmation message. I see somebody saying send it. Do it. I don't know what's going to happen. Let's see. It's in progress. All right. He got a penny from me. Not that he needed it or anything, but I can't believe I listened to this chat. You guys are crazy. But anyway, it worked out, right? This got sent. I have a link here that I could view this transaction on Basescan, and it'll open everything up here to show me the funds. But yeah, essentially, you guys can totally like fork this repo and build it however you want, right? I wanted to make it as generic as possible for you guys to like just make it as like your own template. If you're a creator, or you don't even have to be a creator, just like anybody building anything. So yeah, you guys could go ahead and take advantage of this. Any questions? And let me check the chat so far if you guys have any questions. Pretty simple application, but just wanted to check if you guys had any questions. Let's see. This was a holiday live test, yeah. All right. Nothing related to the application so far. So let's go back to the presentation. All right. So a lot of these things are already come out like out of the box, ready to go on OnChain. I'll show you guys how I got there. But some of the tricky parts were connecting it to Base. I know that one doesn't sound as straightforward, but like when I started integrating ENS names and Base, it kind of was like tricky to do that. So I set up a custom like create config for that specified that to go on the Base chain and use USDC. And then like I mentioned, I alluded to this one earlier, I added a resolve an ENS name component to it as well, because the on-chain key only came with something to register or read base names and wallet addresses, but nothing with the ENS, right? And this is how I was able to send those funds to Vitalik. If that's even him, right? I don't know. Like I'm assuming that's him, but he got the penny from me. It is what it is. And then I created the charge handler here, which was using the Commerce API key and making sure we were properly making a post call to the Commerce API. And then here we're handling the status, right? We saw there that there was like a payment in progress. And then we got that notification saying, hey, we were able to support that creator, and they received those funds as well. And again, my repo is public. I could add the link in the chat later on or anything like that. I'm happy to jump into the code as well, again, if we have time. But these are just some call outs while we're building. Like if you want to do something similar with an ENS name, base name, or wallet addresses, this is more or less how it would go. Perfect. So here I showed you guys that I shipped it on Vercel, right? Right now I have a local one where I could just do like npm run dev or run start, and it'll build it out for me. Usually I like testing it there, right? That's obviously the go-to, test it there, but it gets tricky once you move on over to Vercel, right? You have to make sure there's no like lint errors, and as well as that you move around your API key and you configure it properly, right? Remove that next part that I mentioned earlier. That's going to cause some issues. And then you have to import those environment variables into Vercel, and then it builds, right? The cool thing about Vercel that I wonder if we could show it here. Let me see. Cool. See, here's where I shipped it. Ready. The green light means it was able to go, and it worked out. And then we get some error messages here, and it'll give you like an entire log. It's like, oh, look, there was a lint error, and it failed for that reason. Then I could go back to my code and kind of look it up and see what's going on, right? Perfect. And then I want Oz to jump into his application, and then we'll kind of do a quick breakdown on like on-chain kit, the docs, where to find what you could use, things like that. So without further ado, I'll let Oz take over.
What's up, guys? Yeah, so I basically have the same framework as Esteban here. So I used the Commerce API and on-chain kit with the checkout component. Our slides are pretty identical given it's just the same checkout component. There's some nuances, but basically I attempted to build a simple front end where you can enter your zip code, have a tax applied, and then it programmatically creates a charge with the applied tax. Once the charge is confirmed, it will essentially unlock some like premium content. In this case, once you see on the live demo, I have some like floating base logos in the background. That's the file like I'm essentially selling. Obviously, it's not for sale; it's for free in the GitHub repo. But that's the gist. I've seen a few of you ask for some type of like tax integration, so I used a free API called TaxJar. I think it's free for like 60 days. You don't have to put a credit card in or anything. And overall, I built this in like 2 or 3 hours, and it's been a lot of fun. Next slide. Yeah, so like I mentioned, it's the same stack. It's just the checkout component. It's super easy to integrate. It uses the same like Commerce API checkout component. It's Next.js as well. The key difference between Esteban's app and mine is that I'm using the TaxJar API to basically, once you enter your zip code, it pulls from the TaxJar API, finds your local tax rate. I think it's configurable down to like city, county, country, stuff like that. And then it programmatically creates a charge. It's not using the charge handler. It's actually just making a raw call to the create charge endpoint. But that's essentially the flow. Next slide. Yeah, this is just essentially the structure. You have your different environment variables. You can see I bolded the TaxJar API key, given that's a key differentiator. It uses the create charge API config. It also has like some type of like webhook listener. So we basically need to listen to the charge pending event, which fires and will unlock the premium content. I haven't fully figured out how to unlock the content yet. Like I said, I just started doing this yesterday. I'm not an engineer. And I honestly think this kind of goes to show like how much you can do with AI tools now, where you can be low code or no code and honestly build anything you want with the with on-chain kit. It's super cool. Next slide. Um, yeah, if you could do the live demo, Esteban. So you can see, so you see the base logos floating in the background. That's essentially like what the product is for this specific demo. It's priced at $1. You can see it's a TypeScript file. There's some simple animations on like base station and on the container where it shows the product display. Yeah, so let's go ahead and purchase this. And it does out of the box have some type of like blocker. If you were to enter like a invalid zip code, it won't let you go through. And there's like a simple Java response. You might, if you want to, you might need to oh, there we go. Esteban, I don't see a pop-up for the wallet. Oh, looks like it went through anyways.
Yeah, it seems like it went through, and I'm sure you could get that email from Commerce as well to confirm that the
Right,
transaction was
and you can
successful.
see you can click on the view payment details, and that's the receipt. Um, it doesn't show like there's no how do I phrase it? There's no like validation on the front end to like let you know which county it is or which city it is, but in the existing API response from the tax calculation, it does show all the different granular specifications for the zip code. And like I mentioned, I'm still struggling to get the charge pending event to unlock. There should be a modal or some type of container that has the code snippet for the floating base icons. I'm still working on that, but yeah, the kind of like the meat of this entire demo was basically integrating some type of tax API, given that's not out of the box at Commerce.
Let me go back to the slides and see. Any tips here, Awesome, when you were building? I know you kind of alluded to it. We'll jump into the documentation now, but anything you want to add here?
Yeah, I mean, I'm like low code, which might be more relatable for some of you in the audience. I don't have any formal coding experience. I don't have a computer science background. But with Cursor, it kind of like the sky's the limit. Some of my recommendations are like to create a Next.js project from OnChainKit. So it's easier kind of just to start from scratch versus trying to import into an existing project. Another thing I kind of struggled with sometimes, like Cursor can hallucinate, and it's like, you think you're working towards progress, and then it somehow like deletes your entire like page.tsx file, things like that. But ultimately, I think Cursor is like very sophisticated from the coding point of view. But then Replit is also, it handles deployment really well, and you can actually create like an SSH key. I think Replit might have a more plug and play solution to connect Cursor, but basically you get the advantage of Cursor's coding sophistication using Claude, but then you can connect it to Replit where it's like shows all of your different like deployments and things like that. So it's kind of like a nice, it's just a nice combination for a cool dev workflow. I did have issues deploying to Vercel. I had some like linting issues. Replit handled it like fine on the first try, which is pretty cool. And if you guys want some type of like, I guess it's called a sponsorship. I think it's just like some type of free Replit Pro membership. Hit up Kevin and he'll hook you up with a free membership.
Awesome. Thank you. Awesome. So, okay, if you guys heard this and you're like, okay, I want to build something similar to this, maybe you guys are like, hey, I might be good at Python, not good at Next.js. I don't know how to set this up, right? Let me show you guys the steps I like to take, right? Here, I have a lot of tabs open, right? So these are CDP docs. I'll show you guys the homepage. They've been refreshed to highlight a lot of like sample apps and things of that nature. But here under the Get Started page, we have a little tab here called Use AI Tooling, right? And something that I've found really beneficial that helps me, right, is that we have our CDP SDK documentation here. We have a quick little drop down here where you can just copy this and it gives like basically a whole breakdown of the SDK documentation in Node.js, Python, and Ruby. And you could just copy this straight into like ChatGPT or Claude or whatever LLM you're using. That way the LLM knows how to build out this code, right? But that doesn't just stop there, right? In CDP SDK, we also have one for OnChainKit, right? So you can just directly download it here where it'll prompt you to like the raw text file. Or you could we have this drop down here as well, right? And here we also call out like Replit. Replit has some AI functionality as well. And we have like some of the SDK information already indexed on Replit, right? So you can use that. And then Cursor as well, like I was called out. Like you could basically, to get started, copy and paste this stuff into either ChatGPT or Cursor and just tell it to kind of build it out for you, right? And then just, okay, that's more or less how to get the resources, how to get the ball rolling, how to set yourself up for success, right? And now moving on to OnChainKit. It seems like some of you in the chat are familiar with it, but for those who haven't played around with it before, haven't seen it, right? Think of this like a plug and play like React component library. Essentially, you just need one API key, which is in our portal. I'll show you guys how to get there. and then you're all set to go. And the best part is that it does a lot of that for you, like in the terminal itself. So for example, if we go down here, there's different components that already come in and ready to play, right? So this is the wallet one, the wallet component. As soon as you download or like start a directory with OnChainKit, you have access to this, right? And this dropdown, you can connect your wallet. You can also swap here, swap different cryptocurrencies. This is again a plug and play component. You can mint different NFTs in the ERC-721 or 1155. And you could add this checkout component, right? Which is what we did, which is like paying with crypto. You could also trigger any on-chain transactions, fund your wallet, and have some sort of identity card, which is what we showed there, where I put in my base name and I'm able to like see all like the things connected to my base name, whether it's my GitHub or socials or X account, anything of that nature, right? So if we want to get started with this, it's really simple. Os mentioned, you could either install OnChainKit to an existing project, but what we've noticed just personally is that it's a lot easier to create an OnChainKit project, right? As soon as you hit create on-chain and latest in your terminal, you'll see this pop-up, right? And I can kind of run through this if we have time. You'll see this pop up with all these things, all the components already enabled. So what I've seen that provides the best success is installing this, right? Do the npm create on-chain, right? And then once this entire kit is installed, let's say you did it on Cursor or whatever you're using, add all those like prompts that I showed you guys before on the docs here. Add those prompts to the LLM, and then you're able to ask it any questions or tell it, hey, I want to build this like e-commerce app that does X amount of things, right? Refer to the docs. That's where some prompt engineering kind of comes in. And then you're able to build something similar to what we did as well. Cool. Any questions? Let me pause. I haven't looked at the chat to see if there's any questions or anything like that. And again, I think Bobby Lee linked. Yeah, I see you linked some.
Yeah, I
some
just linked a
resources.
couple
Okay,
things in
perfect.
that first command they should run. Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, and then so let me show you guys the portal. Right here's like where you guys set up your API keys and things like that. I created a new project. I'm going to delete this API key and stuff like this after this call, so I don't mind showing this. So okay, we have an API key. So you go to portal.cdp.coinbase.com. You'll see this is like our main page. You go to API keys. You could create a secret API key. This is like for advanced trade or anything CDP SDK related, right? And then here you can hit create API key. You can give it a nickname, and then you can add certain restrictions on what you want to do with it, right? But for OnChainKit, you need a client API key. Remember how I was saying like the OnChainKit would be the front end of your application, while like CDP SDK and everything else is your backend. Secret API keys is your backend. Yeah, go ahead.
Hey, not to interrupt you, but I think I've had trouble before where I could be wrong, but I don't think it's the client API key when like specifically for the checkout component. I think you would need to hover over on-chain tools on the left-hand side.
Yep.
And then
Here.
on-chain kit, and I think click that. And this key is actually, I believe this client key is different. I'm not sure it gets generated on the other. Yeah.
Let's
but
double check.
I think that's what actually gets used for the checkout component.
Let me see. I put it up here. These look like the same ones.
Okay.
Yeah. It'll be the same one. Yeah. They're the same. So you could just use these and like kind of go ahead and get started, right? And in the terminal itself, it'll ask you right away. Oh, sorry. I think someone's speaking. Is that Justin?
I just added him just in case he wants to share. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, perfect. So we just confirmed these two are the same, right? You can rotate them as well, right? You can do like kind of whatever you want, but you have access to this like portal, right? So you need to do that. And then that's when you could go ahead and do the npm create on-chain at latest. And then the steps are pretty straightforward here, but happy to do it live. I don't know how we're doing on time. I know we're at the 30-minute mark, but do want to prioritize the audience's questions.
You have time because it goes till technically another half an hour on the Luma invite. So
okay, perfect. Well, before I jump into that, I'll give like maybe 2 minutes to see if there's any questions so far. Any feedback on our applications? Do you guys want the links to those like repositories? Like, happy to share that as well. You can kind of build out your own component. I'm curious to see what you guys are thinking.
Did you ask me a question or the audience? I can write it in the chat.
Yeah, I'm waiting for the audience. Anything in the
okay, cool.
Either the audience if they have any questions in the chat or anything
okay,
like that.
Got it.
But if not, while we wait for questions, I can show you guys how to set up on-chain kit and just start doing that. Okay, cool. All right, so I want to do this, right? I have here iTerm 2 set up, and I'm just going to copy this. Let's copy it straight from here. And I'm just in my documents, I'm going to create a quick on-chain project here. So it'll take a bit. And then I want to give it a project name. So I'll do like.
We don't see your terminal.
Oh, let me see. Hold on. Can you see it now?
Sick.
Is it just the terminal that you guys see?
Right.
Perfect. All right,
Yep.
Cool. So I'll call this Discord test. And again, this was after running the command right there that I showed you guys on the on-chain kit side. So I'll do that. And then it's asking me there like for my client API key, right? So that's when I go back and grab the one that was in my portal. So I'm just going to grab it. I don't think you guys can see it, but I'll just go ahead and grab it so I can copy and paste it. So I'm back here, copy and paste it there. And then it asks you if you want to use Coinbase Smart Wallet. I typically like going with yes, because it's like just ready to go. And here it's just giving me instructions, right? I just installed this. Like, let's say I don't know where to go next. The documentation does a pretty good job of telling you, okay, like just CD in here. Let's do npm install. Let's copy all that. And then let's have npm run dev ready to go. And now we wait. Yeah, and here's all the tech stack that it's using and all the integrations. Again, all this comes just like built, ready to play, right? You can just plug it in. So far, that's all I've done. Started a new project and I've done that as well. So and you guys will see how easy it is to kind of just get started and plug and play with these components. And let's see, while that's loading, it's taking a bit. Let me share my screen so you guys can see. All right, so now I am back here. So when looking at the CDP docs, I know it can be overwhelming, but I always like starting off here, right? It's kind of where I want to start, see what happens, and then go into CDP right here, product APIs and Coinbase Commerce. And I would say out of like the application Austin I built, there's already like a demo that does something very similar to that. And it's called the On-Chain's Tickets demo app. And here it does something very similar to what we're doing, right? Here we're creating the on-chain project. We're adding that API key, and then it's showing how to add different features as well, right? So if you guys want like just a reference that's already live in the documentation, you guys could either reference our repos, or if you guys want like more like a walkthrough, you guys can come here and follow the tips here because that's exactly kind of what we're doing, right? So let me share again my terminal. Seems like it finished. All right, so we're here now. We finished doing the npm install, so now let's run it. So it seems to be starting. Let's go ahead and open this up. And let's switch on over back to my browser so you guys can see that. But right now it's still compiling. Cool. Now it just got built, right? For those of you that are very like dark mode and light mode features, it comes automatically built out of the box for that, right? Right now it's just 2 p.m. where I am, so it's on light mode. But you have access to all these components already, right? That's all I did. I literally just ran that command. It was like 4 commands in total. You have your API key ready, and you could already get on your way for like setting up transactions, swapping, checkout, identity wallet, anything in the on-chain kit components in the documentation. And right here, you get to see that I already connected my wallet there. I could disconnect my wallet or like connect again, right? So all of that comes ready to go, right? So all you have to do is edit this page or add components that you guys want and call it in the main app page as well. So this is essentially like at least the steps I took, right? That's and us, I'm assuming, took similar steps to build these successful apps. So totally doable, right? Even if you're not as strong in like Next.js or TypeScript or anything like that. I showed you guys earlier, you could build something in like just one file in Python using the Commerce API, which is here, right? Showed you guys here that you guys can add very simple bare bones application. Just add these things to the cart, check out. I don't know why I'm getting an error here, but you guys can just check out here like I showed you guys. Or you guys could build a more UI friendly one, more like realistic for users and end users to have just a better experience. I want to hear build that. So think of that like this basically turned into this that I built, right? Just using those components. And just adding some customization is totally doable to do that. Awesome. So I showed you guys that. And one good call out as well is that when you guys are making, like if you guys want to do something related to commerce, you also need a Commerce API key. And in this setup, it shows you how to do that as well, right? Just to connect it with Coinbase Commerce as well. So you need the Commerce API key and the on-chain API key. And Commerce is its own domain, right? It's not where you get the CDP SDK API key, but it's a separate one. So just wanted to call that out to avoid any confusion. Cool. Does anybody have any questions? Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't seen any come in that we haven't answered yet. So maybe in the meantime, I'll ask you a couple questions that I have while others think of questions. So, okay, why use on-chain kit over custom code?
Yeah, no, great question. And this is something that why I really like on-chain kit, right? This will get you set up, like something that'll take you like custom code and doing this from scratch is something that'll take you like hours if you like know what you're doing, maybe a couple of days, and that's maybe asking ChatGPT if you're not well versed in Next.js and all these like components. This just simplifies it. I already have a running app locally within like 2 minutes, right? Of setting this up. All the front end is done. Any back end job that I want to do is just a simple matter of setting it up, right? So think of on-chain kit in a way that you could integrate anything to it and kind of get on-chain with that. So super cool product. We highly recommend it, and we'd also love your feedback on it. You know, if you guys installed it or you guys are having some difficulty, or if you guys want to see any specific demo apps using on-chain kit, we'd love to hear it. Feel free to tell us on the chat or just on the Discord channel.
Awesome. Okay, so another question I have, you already kind of showed how easy it is to get started with on-chain kit. What about, we have some demo apps that are pretty Web 2 focused, which is cool. Can you show some of those so people can just get familiar with some of the other sample apps and stuff that people could play around with as they're kind of coming into working on chain in the first place or for the first time?
Yeah, sure. We have a couple actually in the, I'm not sharing my screen. Give me 1 second. So, okay, I'm here. If you guys can see my screen, I'm on the on-chain kit. I'll send you guys this link in the chat. I'm on the on-chain kit docs. We have a couple of templates here to help you guys get started, right? These are all like public and you're able to fork them and build your own thing, right? So one of these is let me see, I opened it. On-chain NFT app, right? So you can go ahead and fork this, connect your wallet, and then you can mint these NFTs. And this all comes ready to play, right? So you just have to same thing that I did. You could fork this repo and add your on-chain kit API key and you're ready to go. The other one we have here is the Commerce app. This one also uses like Commerce API and on-chain kit in the checkout component. And this one's cool. It's intuitive. You can play around with it. It has a cool UI. It has these like pre-made products already. And you could fork this and just build your own on-chain store, like using this template or customize it to however you want, right? And then we have the on-chain social profile. So open up here. This just opens it to a repository and it shows you guys those details for like socials, right? That's connected to your base name. So for your base name, once you claim a base name, you could add like your GitHub repo, your own personal website, your X account, different things like that, just to identify that it's you, right? So these are all ready to go. And this is all on top of what's already in our CDP docs that I shared, right? Which is here. So we have a couple here. We have like adding a payment button, which is really straightforward, just using Commerce, and then the on-chain tickets demo here that you could fork the repo here. And you can see that here, on-chain ticketing, and then just get started with that as well. We also have just using on-chain kit and different things like that. We also have here in the Learn tab, we have a bunch of different sample apps that use on-chain kit. I think some of them do use commerce as well. And then you could just come in here and see. We're constantly updating this so you guys can like mess around with this base name registration or USDC lending app. We always have a ton of new apps ready to for you guys to fork and build up on. So cool. Any other questions, Bobby Lee, that we've got?
That was cool. Thanks. Okay, I think just one more question that I have. Let me pull it up. Yeah, so question for the developers, what other tutorials or workshops would you guys, I guess to the audience, I know not a lot of people are interacting as much today, but if you just wanted to share any other workshops or tutorials, we will be posting some forms for that to fill in some more tutorials and workshops. If you want to make this into a series, do you want more commerce workshops? You can share that in the chat or afterwards in Discord, but that's an overarching question that we have. And there's a form there Ellie just posted for you guys to fill that in. But yeah, we're in next year, we're trying to have all these workshops again, more workshops on Thursdays, just continue the series. And so yeah, we just love to hear what you guys are interested in learning. You can share it in the chat now or after. But overall, that kind of brings us to the end of our questions and the workshop overall. Is there a question? Yeah. No. Yeah. So thank you so much, you guys. This has been awesome. This is our last event of the year. We've done a lot of different things. We've had almost like 3 events for a while now, every week. So doing a lot of different things for you guys. And yeah, we want to keep engaging the community in different ways. And overall, there's this new show and tell channel that we have. I've been mentioning it in the last few events, so sorry if I'm repeating myself, but yeah, we want you guys to share some of your ideas in there so they don't have to be fully fledged projects. They can be just ideas. Maybe you're looking for someone to work on it with. You can put a fully fledged project that you've built if you like, but we're trying to showcase more of the builders and do some more demo days like we had yesterday. So that's kind of where you should go, is the show and tell channels, where we want to be interacting with you a bit more and wanting to know what you'd like to learn. So that's kind of it. I just want to say thanks again, Esteban and Os, for doing this, and for Justin for being here as well from the commerce team. And that's a wrap for me.
Awesome.